You're listening to the WBT Podcast with Michael Lodge. Listen to all of our podcasts at www.wbtpod.com. Stay informed. Let's get started.
And welcome to the WBT. This is Michael Lodge. I'm glad you've joined me. Beautiful day here in Palm Beach, Florida. Nice sunny. I don't see any wind blowing today. Normally it's windy, but today it's a beautiful day. So what are we going to talk about today? Well, we're going to talk about several different things. And one of them is the impeachment. And the other one is a California state law called AB 5, who has literally destroyed independent contractors and small business owners in California. And it went into effect January 1st. So we're going to talk about those two issues. This is Mike Lodge. I'll be right back.
This is brought to you by Lodge & Co., a business and tax advisory firm where your success is our goal. Call us today toll-free at 888-681-1518 or visit us at www.lodge-co.com and learn more about what we can do for you. Lodge & Co., your source for sound business and tax services.
So how many of you watched the pomp and circumstance of taking those impeachment documents from the Congress over to the Senate? And the signing of the impeachment documents by Nancy Pelosi and having all those, 10,000 pens that she signed her name with a gleeful smile on her face because she's so proud of what she's done. It's to me, it was really sad for the Democrats because they were so proud, they were so happy, they were taking pictures with each other. It was really kind of like a high school outing, right? Where they just stood around and gleefully, and then finally they took the documents over there and the Senate accepted them. Now, what I want to talk about at the moment is that there's been a lot of Democrats who have been saying we want to bring in more witnesses. But here's my view on it. And I think it's a sound legal view. The Democrats went through this impeachment trial. They documented everything. They have witnesses. That's what the Senate should be taking up. And only that. No new witnesses should be brought forward. We should only be focusing, the senators should only be focusing on what happened at the impeachment trial. Not the trial, but the impeachment hearings. The only witness that I really want to hear, because no one has heard, is the whistleblower. I think if there's any one witness that should be called back, is the whistleblower. And let's finally hear from that individual, and let's know who that individual is who started this whole mess under Adam Schiff. We should go to the basis, the foundation of the Democrats' original claim for impeachment. No other people should be brought forward. I don't want to hear from Biden. We can do that in a Senate hearing. I don't want to hear from Biden. I don't want to hear from Bolton. I don't want to hear from any of these because they were not included in the original impeachment hearings. So if the Democrats' case is so strong, it should stand on its own. If it has legal standing, it should stand on its own. Those impeachment managers are the ones to defend their documentation, their case against the president. That's all that the Senate should be considering, are those documents. Now here's the problem for the Democrats is that they don't have legal standing. They have no law that was broken, and they can't prove it, because there are two charges against the president. Could happen to any president. And there's no legal basis for any criminal activity. No laws were broken. So the Democrats have a problem, you see. They know that their case probably will not stand up. So what did they do? They dragged this out for a whole month. After they adopted the impeachment, they drug it out for a whole month, thinking that they could get some leeway in the Senate under McConnell. Unfortunately, Congress has no say of what the Senate does. So Nancy Pelosi gambled. Unfortunately, her gambling didn't pay off. She's like the little old grandmother that sits in the casino pulling the one-armed bandit, hoping that something's going to come out. That's what she is. She's that little old grandmother protecting her slot machine so that no one else can get to it, because she thinks something will come out of it. So the only question that the Senate really has before them is, does the impeachment documentation and case have any legal merit whatsoever? And the answer, nope, it doesn't. They have not been able to prove any type of wrongdoing beyond a shadow of a doubt. Now, there's been a lot of politics being played, and they've been doing it because they want to hurt Trump while he's running for president, because they have no one to run against them. If you've seen all the comments and all the video and everything else about the Democrats, and even CNN finally had to admit there's no one up there that can beat Trump. I think that the Democrats have lost sight of how America feels. And the issue has always been, why did Americans vote for Trump? And the answer was simple. Now, what we saw as Americans, we saw a government going out of control. We saw an FBI out of control. We saw a Department of Justice out of control. We saw the Internal Revenue Service out of control. So we wanted change. Now, a lot of us may not have liked Trump. We might not liked all of his words. Let me give you a good analogy on this. In business, when the company is in trouble, you hire what is called a hatchet man. And that guy or girl goes into the company and looks at everything that is going wrong in the company and begins hatching it away. He has a hatchet and begins cutting it away to make it a stronger company. Now, no one likes this guy during the meantime. Oh, they're scared of him. They hate him because they're not quite sure what he's going to do to their jobs. So in the corporate setting, it's required to hire somebody to come in there and clean house. In the business world, it's required to make a profit. It's required to operate correctly. It's required not to be taken advantage of, abused by the officers of the company. So that's my analogy to as why Americans voted for Trump. They wanted a hatchet man. They might not have liked all of his words and all of his grandiose and everything else, but they saw him as somebody that could get things done. And that was the goal of the American people. They saw the corruption that was done in the Clinton Foundation, in Hillary Clinton's role as this Secretary of State. They saw the corruption that was done in the Obama administration and using the IRS to go after conservatives. They saw all of these things, and it began mounting up. It began to grow and grow and grow until finally the American people said, okay, this is enough. We've got to get somebody in there that's going to clean house. We've got to get somebody in there that's going to start chopping away at all of this stupidity and all of this red tape on business and all of this, everything else that had been mounting up through the Obama and through the Bush years. That's a long time to have to clean up. But the American people saw it. And they said, okay, I might not like Trump, but I need someone to do a job for me. I need someone to go into Congress and start cleaning out. I need someone to go into the FBI and start cleaning out. I need someone to go into the CIA and start cleaning out. I need someone to go into the Department of Justice and start cleaning out. I need to get a stronger court system. So they voted for Trump. And the Democrats have hated that ever since then. Because they saw that Trump was literally going to go in there with a hatchet and start cutting away at everything that they wanted. Then you have to ask yourself, what have the Democrats done? They put into Obamacare, they knew that there was problems in it, but not one time did they ever try to change what was wrong with Obamacare. They went out and they campaigned on helping the people with DACA, on immigration. But they've never sat down and worked with immigration with the president. At his invitation. Sit down, let's talk about DACA. And they refused to do it. So all of these individuals who were promised DACA never gets DACA because the Democrats don't want to play. But they love using it as a campaign issue. The other issue is the Democrats keep talking about all of these children down at the border and how they're being separated from their parents. That's their concern. However, there's 700,000 American children on the streets every day homeless, and they do nothing to help them. Nothing. So you see, the Democrats have used various issues as campaign models, but do nothing to work on what they've promised. So then you have Donald Trump comes in and he says, I'm going to do this, or this, or this, or this, and this, and then he does it, and the Democrats are furious. And the Democrats don't understand that New York and California do not think the way Middle America thinks. Middle America thinks with common sense. What is good for the nation? I don't care if I'm Democrat or Republican or independent, but what is good for the nation and good for my communities? That's how they think. New York and California think socialist, and they think political. And they don't ask the question, what is good for America? They push their own agenda thinking it's good for America. And so they never listen to anybody that's in between those two states. Their biggest endorsements, their biggest support are in New York and some of the other eastern states and California. That is their support. But Middle America, and this is why Clinton lost so badly, because she never listened to what Middle America was trying to tell her. So I think that you really have to understand America. America really wanted change. And they wanted change in their government, and they wanted it to be cleaned up. They wanted their veterans to be taken care of. They wanted veterans to have an independent medical service that they could go to a doctor's office and see a doctor when they needed to. not having to wait to get into the Veterans Administration Hospital. They wanted that. They wanted these kinds of changes, and the Democrats talked about it, but they never did anything about it until President Trump came in and did it. So you see, Americans don't look at words anymore. Words don't mean anything unless you fulfill them, unless you accomplish them. And Americans are looking for accomplishments, not political words, not political infighting, not political slander, not political hate especially. They have gotten to the point where they no longer believe in the words that politicians say because none of it has ever come true. But then they have voted for an individual who said, okay, I will do this for the American people. I'm not going to get paid for it. I'm not taking a dime. But I'm going to take care of the American people and what they've told me what they want done. So you see the problem with America is that now we have these individuals who are saying that they're socialists and they want to spout these socialist ideas with the knowledge that it's going to cost Americans so much money and that all of our taxes are going to go up. Even Bernie Sanders, all the way down to the $20,000 mark. If your wages are $20,000, you're going to pay higher taxes to pay for everybody else. I'm going to give you free health care, but the taxpayer is going to pay for it. I'm going to give you free education, but the taxpayers are going to have to pay for it. You see, taxpayers are tired of having to pay for everything. This is a country where we build things, where we are ingenious within our minds and we create things. We put them out into the marketplace. If it makes it, it's great. If it fails, we learn again and we do something else. We don't want the government inside everything that we do. We don't want them mandating everything that we have to think about or do. Americans are willing to pay taxes, but we don't want to be burdened by taxes. Once you have that burden, people start saying, maybe I shouldn't keep my company here in the United States anymore because I can get 4% in Ireland or 12%, whatever it is. Ireland, I think, is one of the lowest tax rates in the world. Maybe I shouldn't keep it in America anymore because now, under the Democrats, my taxes are going up. And they don't care. Then you have Elizabeth Warren also with these socialist ideals that are failure, that they're not working in other countries. But yet she wants to force them on Americans. So you see her Twitter, go to her Twitter page, and you would be surprised. She's talking about the Indian tribes. She's talking about all kinds of different things except about her policies, because her policies cannot stand on their own, because they are so hard on the American people if they're put in place. And she's going around and spouting all this nonsense, and then she makes up this fake story about Bernie Sanders, about women. And you can go back and look at videos that Bernie Sanders has actually said that women can be president. It's on videotape. But she made this up. And then she made a big scene by going over to Bernie Sanders at the debate the other night and saying, "You called me a liar on national TV." And Bernie Sanders just walked away, which was a good thing, because you don't want to have to deal with a liar. And let me tell you, Elizabeth Warren, she's a liar. But Bernie Sanders is even worse, because he is a politician who, if you look at the people engrossed into his camp that are supporting him, they're communists. They believe in the gulag. They are spouting how good the gulag was. So the Democrats at this moment have no candidate that's going to do anything. Even Joe Biden, his blunders and his mistakes and everything show that he's not up to running a country. You can't have that many mistakes when it's happening every single day. So the Democrats have nothing. And so this impeachment is all about political hate and trying to destroy a president. Now, I'm telling you this. If this goes to the Senate and it gets acquitted or it gets dismissed, one of those two, acquittal or dismissed, because it's not going to a guilty because the Democrats don't have a solid legal standing. If it goes to acquittal and dismiss, to me as an American, I look at it as that was not an impeachment. That was just a political play that was put on for the American people. That's all it was a play put on by the Democrats in the Congress to make Donald Trump look bad. To make the presidency look bad. And they haven't even thought about the fact that, let's just think about this a little bit. If Bernie Sanders became president, do you not think the Republicans on day one will start saying, we need to impeach this guy? Yes, it's going to happen. Because let me tell you, payback is a bitch. And that's what the Democrats have set up this nation for, is payback. And this is not the way that the American people want their country to be run. They don't want to see this nonsense every single day. And if the Democrats don't start wising up and start seeing that the rest of America is not New York and it is not California, where the liberal socialists live and thrive, they will never do anything positive for this nation. They are stuck in hate. They are stuck in hate. So Americans are going to have to be strong. We're going to have to be strong. And we're going to have to call out those politicians who only promote hate. Those are the individuals that we need to start looking at in the 2020 election. Do they remain or do they go? And then if they're going to promote hate and they're going to promote impeachment every single day, they need to go, because America can no longer take this nonsense. So we as Americans have to do what Donald Trump has done, and we have to be the hatchet man or woman. And we have to go into this congressional election in 2020, and those that need to be hatcheted out need to go. That's the only way that we can take back control of the United States, is by putting in people who don't follow a political agenda, but they follow what is right and what is common sense for the American people. That's all that we're asking for. Do what is right for the American people. Not what your party says, but what is right for the American people. That's where we need to get back to. Socialism will never work in our country. We are a country designed at the very beginning to give the freedoms to the citizens of this great nation to try, to build, to accomplish, to achieve their desires and dreams of where they want to be in life. There's always going to be people down at the bottom, because some of them don't see the possibilities. Their eyes have been closed by constant bombardment of, you're down there, you have to stay down there. And that's where they stay, that's where they remain. Because it's being told to them every single day. But this America was built on the fact that even that person at the bottom has the ability to make it to the top. Socialism will never allow you to do that. Socialism says you are now a slave to the government. You have to share all of your wealth all of the time. You've got to pay taxes in to pay for everybody else. So that's how that is. Now I'm going to get to California. California passed a law back in September of 2019 that's called AB5. Now AB5 was supposed to be, it was written by Assemblywoman Lorraine Gonzalez. Assemblywoman Lorraine Gonzalez. Remember that name. So she formed AB5, which is supposed to hit the gig community. In other words, if you're a gig person, if you're working as a contractor, an independent contractor, there are now so many rules in AB5 that says now you have to be a W-2. If you are a writer and if you do more than 30 articles for a company, you now have to become a W-2. If you're a Uber driver, you now have to become a W-2. Now, remember, all of these jobs were independent jobs. They were supposed to be designed that you do it on the side. These are extra ways to earn money. And you got a 1099 at the end of the year. And you were able to take, if you did a Schedule C, you were able to take all of your expenses doing that job. You were able to take your gas and your mileage and everything else, insurance, everything, to be able to be a self-employed individual. So you did a Schedule C, which was business or profession, on your individual tax return. Income minus expenses. Like a normal small business. But then this lady came in, she says, no, I want them to have unions, I want them to be able to have wages and be paid at minimum wage and all this other stuff. And then she attacked other businesses in the healthcare industry, in the transcribing, in legal transcription. And it attacked a whole bunch of small businesses that now people don't know what they're going to do. Now, I have written a letter to the Department of Labor. I have written a letter to the Department to the Assembly. I have written a letter to the Assemblywoman herself on giving me a explanation of the classifications. And I'll give you a good example. Exempt from all of this are medical doctors, podiatrists, dentists, people like that, surgeons. They're exempt. But in the code that they state in their business code, not only are medical doctors in there, but there are a whole bunch of other medical fields. Nurses, physical therapists, respiratory therapists, speech therapists, and the list goes on. They're all within that code that they quote to support the exemption of medical doctors. But they never included all of these other healthcare industries in there. And there are a whole bunch of healthcare industries and professionals who work part-time. They're working as consultants to other facilities. So now we're not quite sure, well, how do we treat them now? Should they still be 1099? Or do we have to include them as W-2? I say they're independent contractors because they're operating independently. They're taking on these projects their own decision. They're making a quote of what they're going to charge. They're providing their own malpractice or professional liability insurance. They're operating as small businesses on the side of doing their regular jobs. And some of these people have several consulting assignments. They might go and become a social worker on one side, and they might go and do something else for another side. They might go in and consult to a skilled nursing facility on healthcare or on survey, trying to get the skilled nursing facility up on survey. They could be doing a whole bunch of different things on the side of their regular job. And they file a Schedule C, business or profession, just like any other small business. But California has said, no. We are going to tell you what you are. We are going to classify you, everybody, as an employee. And the reason why we're going to do that is because we want the tax money. And they wrote the bill so quickly and so badly that now it affects everybody in the state of California that operates in the gig community or in the independent contractor community. This is a state that's trying to tell everybody what to do. So it was passing the law. So as of January 1st, 2020, everybody is now faced with this. A dilemma of how to reclassify these individuals or how to classify them. And people are not quite sure what to do because now they are starting to lose their side jobs because people don't want to deal, the businesses don't want to deal with the issue of contractor issue. And they don't want to add them to their payroll because it's going to cost them a lot more. In workers' compensation, costs will go up. Tax payments into the IRS, into the state will go up. So California has become this socialist state where they're going to tell business people and the Californians there, you have to do it our way. And so now you see a lot of professionals saying, you know what, I'm not going to make it in California anymore. There's a large gig community, especially in the entertainment industry, because these productions don't run very long. They could run 4 months, and it's all done. And then they move on to the next production. So they're independent contractors. They come in, they contract, they do their jobs, and then they move on. So it's going to hit the entertainment industry really hard. And so people are starting to lose their jobs because the studios and the production companies don't want to deal with this issue of AB5. AB5 has done a lot of damage to the economy of the state of California. State of California thinks that they're going to get more taxes out of this, but what they're going to do is force everybody out. And all of the production houses will probably say, let's not film anymore in California. Let's film in another state that's more business friendly. Which is going to happen. And they're going to see a lot of healthcare workers saying, you know what, I can work in another state much better and not have to worry about taxes as I have to worry about in the state of California. I can go to Florida, I don't have a state tax there. I can go to Nevada, Arizona, Texas, there's no state taxes there. I can go there and I can live much cheaply. So California has become this socialist society where the government has literally taken over the lives of Californians. And we're seeing how badly it's failing there. The budget of California has gone into the billions, to operate that state because it's so expensive to operate there. So they have to keep thinking of new ways to create more tax dollars to pay for their bad spending habits. Remember, they put that gasoline tax, and they're already beginning to steal away from that gasoline tax for other projects that they need. None of that money is going to go for roads or highways or infrastructure. We have to be very careful about how our governments are being formed and who's in government. Because when we see things like this happening, it hurts a lot of different people. It's no longer a free market society. It becomes a socialist society where you become the slave to the government. And that is what has happened in California and in New York. But the biggest eyesore is in California. The Californians there, the American Californians there, have no longer any say in their government. It's taxation without representation in California now. And it's a disgusting mess. I was born in California. I love California. July, I moved out of California. I moved my office. I moved everything out of California and said, that's enough. I'm no longer going to deal with it. I'll support my clients that are there, but I'm never going to live. In fact, this week on Monday, I filled out the paperwork to dissolve my California corporation, and I filled out paperwork to incorporate in Florida, because I felt that I could no longer have any more ties to the state that I was born and the state that I love, because California has become a socialist state. And it really nags at my heart. It hurts me so greatly to be born there, to start my firm there, to become a big firm there, to be a success there. And yet I have to leave because I'm being attacked every single day by regulation after regulation, after tax after tax. So I said enough. And I went to a tax-friendly state of Florida because I had to. I was forced out. I became a California refugee. It's a sad situation when you see such a beautiful state that is so vibrant with history and diversity to be completely destroyed by a political system that takes control over your life. So I want to talk to you and explain to you that we have changes going on in our great nation. And we have a lot of challenges ahead of us. But our biggest fight is to put people in government that are going to do something for the American people and keep their promises. Don't make any promises that you can't keep. Do what is common sense and good for the people that you represent. This is going to be our biggest fight, is putting the right people in government. We have not been paying attention well enough to what's happened in our states, our local governments, and in our federal government. We let the Bernie Sanders slip by. We let the Elizabeth Warrens slip by. So we cannot let this happen any longer. You and I have a lot to do before November 2020. When we go cast our vote this election, we have better made sure that we study the people that we're voting for. Look at their history. Look to see what their accomplishments have been. If it's all been words and no accomplishments, they shouldn't even be on the list of consideration. So that is it for today. Let's really, really think about our nation, our country, our states, our communities, our neighborhoods. Let's protect the liberties that we have. Because if we do not protect our liberties, and if we stumble and if we fail, the whole world is watching us. Because we are the only country that has been a success as an independent, free nation. We're the only one that has been a success. We're a very young country, but we can't destroy it so quickly. We cannot allow politicians to meddle in our lives or in our businesses. We cannot allow that to happen. So we have choices to make. Let's make them with prayer, and let's make them with and ask for wisdom to choose the right people. This is Mike Lodge. Listen, if you have any comments or questions, send me a text at 818-252-5682. Again, that's 818-252-5682. And I'll get back with you. I'll be more than happy to answer any question. Everybody go out. Support your nation. Be your nation. Be the type of American that is proud to be an American and will do anything for its nation and for its people. Talk with you soon. This is Mike Lodge. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the WBT with Michael Lodge. Join us again tomorrow as we explore more about business and taxes. Follow us on iHeartRadio and go to our podcast website at www.wbtpod.com and listen to all of our podcasts and read our blogs.
This podcast has been produced by Michael Lodge, fully focused on content.